Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Superdwarf Show, brought to you by Ship Your Reptiles. If you hadn't heard of them yet, they're the best. You might want to check them out. Please visit www.shipyourreptiles.com to get started. Use code Superdwarf to unlock 15% off for $15 off your first order today. Now, without further ado, if you've been watching the show for a while, you know that we love to do our let's welcome Garrett type of beat, and we like to introduce our hosts. But because we're talking about Clint, I had a very special intro that I stole from his channel. So we're going to check that out. Please enjoy this clip from way back when of Mr. Clint Rogers.
Stinking rad day in the reptile room, a stinking rad day for a lizard. Should it be mine? Could it be mine? It's a reptile-y day for a stinking rad pet, a reptile-y day for a new snake. Should it be mine? Could it be mine? I have always wanted to have a turtle just like you. I've always wanted to spend a day in a reptile zoo, so let's find a pet on this stinking rad day, one that is right in every way. Should it be mine? Could it be mine? Won't you be pet? Won't you be? Won't you be? Please won't you be my new pet? Well, hi there, neighbor.
I don't know how you can watch something like that and just not instantly have your day become that much brighter, that much more happy. So, we took up that time. We can't give Garrett an official welcome, but here he is, guys. Give him a half-hearted. I'm just going to do this.
Just half-hearted. Is there like a one-hand clap emoji? Just the sound of one hand clapping would be good, please.
You can't even pick that up. I don't know why I'm trying.
How's it going, everybody? How you guys doing? Oh, let me take this giant. Look at this. This is a thing of beauty. I cut that with an angle grinder off of a shipping container with one of the projects we have going down here. That's a clean cut.
Clean cut.
Oh.
How do you even cut something like that?
Little super doors down unnecessarily.
Oh.
Told you, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
So, yeah. What's going on, Jeremy? How you been?
I've been so good. So good. And, like I've been watching Clint, I've been a huge fan. Since I started here, I've been watching his videos. Love his content. Shout out, Clint. Guys, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you haven't met him, I remember watching him. I saw him a couple times on YouTube before I met him in person. And, are you guys with me? Let me know in the comments. Your first thought is like, is this guy for real? You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy can't be real. Yeah. He's obviously, like, faking. And he has this whole, I don't know, it's almost like passive-aggressive but friendly and hilarious persona, and it's worked out so perfectly. He can't be real, but he must be like a genius actor, which usually doesn't happen with people who carry like a PhD in biology, right?
Yeah, definitely not.
So then I met him, and it takes about 30 seconds to be like, oh yeah, that's for real. That's pretty much like what you see is what you get with him. You know what I mean?
You can't keep it on your entire life. You know what I mean? Like, you got to slip up at some point, and I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he does it. If it is fake, so it's got to be real.
No, I think he's a real deal. So did you guys the video that we're talking about? I actually heard about him. So I got back from vacation in in Hawaii. With Clint and his family and Brian Cusco and his family. And then we got straight back, went to Tinley last weekend. Awesome to see you guys who were there. And thank you to everyone that bought snakes. That was one of the better March shows I've ever been to. And I don't mean in terms of like snake sales, although they were good. I just mean like March is hit and miss with weather and St. Patty's Day and stuff. But there was a ton of people there. We got to meet so many people, have a really good time. Hanging out and talking with everyone. I always wish those shows were like longer, or that you get, because you meet some really interesting people that you want to be able to sit down and spend more than like 30 seconds with.
Yeah. Not everyone, but some of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and every time we do a show like that, or a retic fest, even for that matter, like
Sure.
these are getting pretty big.
Sure.
Our event that comes up in the summer, you know, although this one's definitely much more intimate. You always get half of the people that are like, "Oh, I got to meet Garrett in person, and it was so great, and he took the time, and he was like hanging out with me and my kids, and he let us hold a snake, and what a wonderful time." And then other people are like, "Oh, he totally gave me the cold shoulder, and I guess that guy's a jerk in real life, you know." And it's just because there's so many people, you know, they're not trying to cold shoulder anyone, but it's like, you know, you try to make your rounds and say hello and answer everybody's questions and show them all a good time, but you have like this much time to do it in.
Yeah.
So 20,000 people or something like that.
Absolutely. But
yeah,
we don't. Well, I don't know if you caught the video, but he goes into the top 5 best reptiles for beginners. That's
yeah, he talked to me about.
Yeah.
So that was one of his original and biggest videos that he launched his channel off of. But his opinions, he said, had changed over time. So it was time to do an update. And I think some of the animals stayed the same. Honestly, I didn't pay attention to anything but 2 of the animals that were in the video. Which, you know, was kind of funny because the 2 snakes he mentioned are 2 snakes that we work with. So that's what I was paying attention to. And they weren't in the first video. One, because I don't think with the African house snakes, he really had a lot of experience with them or anything. And then the superdwarfs, I don't think he had, you know, length of talking with. But those choices were fairly controversial in his comments section there. So it was kind of, I mean, not as much the house snakes. They're kind of an obvious shoe-in for everybody. And it's no accident that these are the species we work with, right? I love all kinds of reptiles. We've got the alligator Chico downstairs. I was having so much fun showing Jake how to do some little training with him. Earlier today, Karma is our big mainland. We've got monitors now and the iguanas, and I've allowed myself to expand a little bit.
A little bit. I mean,
a little bit.
We're getting there, you know.
Well, the animals are growing out now.
Yeah,
We've got
true.
the green anaconda, but really, the reason why I kept and bred the superdwarfs and the African house snakes, for that matter, is I thought both of them were excellent animals that a lot of people were not aware of. So we wanted to, you know, obviously this year will be 10 years working with the superdwarfs. We've been working as Reach Out Reptiles anyway, longer than that we've had them. But it's been, I don't know, not quite 10 years, a little bit less than that I've been working with the house snakes, and we haven't really even shared those too much publicly.
Well, let me get into, because I got a couple questions about this video.
You have questions about
I have some questions.
Okay.
I'm going to play some clips to kind of give everyone a feel for how this video went. And then we're going to grill you. How's that sound? Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
All right. Here's that first clip for you guys.
You're welcome, Natasha.
So there is a motive for people to sell you a baby giant snake as a superdwarf, which would be devastating. As such, I generally recommend that people go to Reach Out Reptiles or other highly reputable breeders to get one. It's just too risky to go anywhere else. And this means that you're almost certainly going to have one shipped to you. But I can say that Reach Out ships reptiles better than any other breeder I have ever seen. And you actually have to reach out to Reach Out Reptiles in order to order one.
So that was some high praise from Clint. And the question for you right now is, I mean, we saw it in the comments. Did you pay him to do that? Like, was that a paid advertisement?
No, this one was not a paid advertisement. We didn't pay Clint to put those in there. He does have some superdwarfs from us. He has, and he's got retics from other people too. And then he does have a house snake from us, and he has some house snakes from other people too. But no, he did that all by his lonesome. And we have paid Clint for ad spots before. I mean, if you're like, Clint is truly a YouTuber, right? Like, that's a large source of his income. Unlike us, we do this more just to kind of connect with you guys and teach about the superdwarfs and give you guys some, you know, kind of like more behind the scenes access. Obviously, we're very open with all the stuff that we do here at Reach Out Reptiles and share it a lot rather than just dropping like a new baby retic every now and then or whatever. But so that you guys can learn the process. So what I was going to say is, you know, with a YouTuber, like if you get sponsorships or something, it kind of stinks if you're, I would think, you know, but like if someone was going to sponsor me to eat a bowl of cereal in front of you right now, or tie my shoe with a special lace, or, you know what I mean? Or like show you a t-shirt brand or something that I like to wear. Let's stop talking about reptiles and do that. That's kind of annoying, but there's not enough reptile businesses in the hobby to all be fully sponsored by reptile stuff. We're very fortunate. We're sponsored by a company, Ship Your Reptiles, that we've used for shipping long before they ever sponsored us. We love them, and we're trying to bring the word out on what good customer service they have all the time, right? So that's a supernatural fit for us because it's a company we use regularly in our reptile business. So I think twice over the years, I've paid for an ad clip. One was in a Tasmanian tiger episode that Clint did. I don't even remember what the other one is. But 2 different episodes that we've sponsored him to be like, hey, can you shout out, reach out reptiles and our super dwarves there. This one, I think he just liked the snakes.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, he did that on his own. He actually told me about it when we were in Hawaii.
Yeah,
that it was going to be coming out.
Man, and honestly, because that was on the breeder tier call that we saw that on our Patreon. And I remember because we all on the Patreon actually saw you hear that it was going to be the #1 best pet reptile for beginners live. And I just remember you being like, what? Are you sure? Like, you just questioning him on it. And I thought that was pretty insane. But let's dive into like
I said, house snakes are definitely a shoo-in. I think everybody needs 1 or 10 house snakes. The super dwarves, though, I mean, honestly, in talking to him about it, like, he was almost convincing me on that because I've always said that they're more of like a next step animal, right? Let's take some snakes out, by the way.
Sure.
We'll pull one out so you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is a really small bloodline animal, but it is an adult breeder. This is an adult male. He's a cross, you know, which is like we're breeding to get combos in. So he's a platinum annery in color, and he's 75% super dwarf. So he's a young adult male. He's, I think, 3 years old, I want to say, but not very big at all. He's smaller than a lot of our ball pythons, you know. But this is about his eventual size. He will probably, over the next couple of years, grow a foot or 2. But as you can see, I mean, I'm holding him with one hand here on camera. He's very, look at him compared to the size of my microphone. You know? And their length is deceiving because he's probably almost 6 feet. But, hey, buddy. And then I've actually got a couple of his babies here. Let me put him up on the playground, though. But that's a male. So what were you going to say next, Jeremy?
Just that I was going to dive into, we're talking about how you found out that they're the best, but I want to dive in, like, do they actually make good pets? Because he gave some reasons there. I want to play a clip really quickly, just to kind of, I don't know, evolve that point and kind of almost play into the points you were saying where he almost convinced you, right?
Yeah, well, kind of. Go ahead and play the clip. I'll pull a female out and then I'll say.
Sounds good.
So, why is this snake on this list? I would start by saying that a baby super dwarf is a totally fantastic pet for a beginning keeper. Other than Cape house snakes, almost nothing is better. And unlike their mainland giant cousins, super dwarfs grow very slowly. By the time it's this large, you won't be a new keeper anymore. You will know this snake and probably a lot more. But also, this might be the ultimate pet snake for most people that seriously enjoy snakes. It is basically perfect. The perfect size, the perfect level of engaging, the perfect eater, as hardy as snakes come. Perfect. If you really want a snake, a house snake, a corn snake, or a ball python is just going to whet your appetite for snakes.
And so I think the main thing there is he was talking about how you want to start with a baby. Is that right?
Well,
main takeaway
to your question, you were saying, is a super dwarf the best?
And it's like
pet or a good pet.
Sure.
And I think, yeah, obviously and awesomely, they're definitely among the top for good pets. Like,
okay,
super biased here, admittedly, but that's an easy one to answer. The real question is, do they deserve a slot as the best beginner's pet? So in other words, you've never had a snake before. And now you're going to get a super dwarf retic. And to me, that's a fairly intense decision to make, right? This is the way I've always thought about it. So, by the way, this is Faye. This is the mom of these little girls.
Aw.
I want to show you guys size comparison. She's about a foot longer than Striker over there, who was the dad. She's 6 years old. So she's basically full grown now. And again, she can add maybe another foot or whatever over the years, but she's pretty much done growing. So this isn't even a pure superdwarf. This is just a nice, like, kind of high quality bred animal. This particular animal was produced by Richard Bilbo. But yeah, so Clint's point was, like, you want to get a snake from someone that's focusing on small bloodlines like this.
Whoa, thank you so much, Natalie.
Natalie, what's up? We got a super chat in the house. Hold that thought. We're going to get to Natalie here. All right, let's see. I can read this one. Natalie, $10. Thank you. Wow. I'm 13. I want to get my first snake. I'm only interested in keeping one snake, and super dwarves are by far my favorite. I've got the money, the space, and I wanted to know if it's a good idea. Okay, perfect timing in your question for this show. So let me go I've got this girl on a playground. Well, yeah, she's cool. She can hang here. Jeremy, do you feel confident as a novice snake keeper to take Faye here and put her up on the playground?
Do it.
We got a little living room playground, our own little. We'll see if Jeremy can do it. Jeremy is we'll just look at his face. We'll just say he's not the most comfortable around big snakes. That's a fine face? You do have a fine face, Jeremy. Hold on. There we go. Come on. Go ahead, Jeremy. Got it. What is this? We're giving him a tour. Here's our own little Mr. Rogers set. Fun fact, this is where we go on Patreon for our after party every time. And the experience from going from the live studio to the living room set inspired by Mr. Rogers. Jeremy, you did it. Natalie, if Jeremy can do it, you can definitely do it. Just saying. A little compliment to you, Natalie, and maybe possible slight insult to Jeremy. So here's the part that I never thought about. And really where I was like, okay, I've been selling superdwarves for 10 years, and this is maybe the best sales pitch for superdwarves I've ever heard, and I had never used it. And I don't know why. Yeah. I guess because Clint is way smarter than me. I mean, let's just be honest. So he said, here's the thing. The superdwarves grow really slowly. So they start out like this. This is a baby that is just now a couple of weeks old. She's literally he, in this case, is literally a hatchling from the two that we just saw. Okay? And this is a really tiny snake. So some of the things, and you guys will have to go watch Clint's whole video, see if you agree with the points he made, and I'm sure he would love to hear from you in his own comment section about it, what you think, because it's a pretty happening comment section over there. But the babies, really the only challenges to them being a new pet is that they are from a different climate than what we have, let's say, here in North America. Right? So same challenges that you would face with a lot of different species that are commonly recommended as first pets, like a ball python, for example. There's a lot of pros to these guys over ball pythons. The reason why me and I think most people would be like, yeah, I don't know if a superdwarf is really the best first snake option is well, first of all, they'll poop all over your studio there. Look at that. That's beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so we've got a male and a female together. She's not receptive to him right now. So when they play together and they're there, she's pooping all over to let him know she's not interested. Beautiful, honey. Yes, he's not interested now either. So anyway, one of the cons, and this would be a good one for you, Natalie, is that those big retics, they can be pretty intense about stuff. So very strong food response, things like that. It's really easy for them when they're going for food. Like, I love that they always eat. That's definitely one of their pros and one of the easiest things about keeping them as pets, as opposed to, say, something that goes on fasts for long periods of time and you don't know why. The cons that come with that, I mean, these guys are basically designed to, like, snag a bat out of the air, right? So they bite first and ask questions second. So if you're a new keeper and you don't know what to expect when you're approaching these animals, you probably will or could get bit by one of these snakes and have to learn that lesson the hard way. So here's the selling point. that I missed out on. Clint was talking about how slowly these grow up. Come to think of it, I should have pulled like a yearling out so you can see it. I always forget how small they are because I feel like they're a year in and they haven't grown at all yet, you know?
Yeah.
At a year old, it might be as big around as my finger. But when they hatch every year and they're so tiny like this, they're super slow growing. And even though they have the food response and all that kind of stuff, when you learn it on a baby snake like this, it's not intense at all. In fact, there are many species like hognose snakes, king snakes that have just as, African house snakes for that matter, just as ferocious, if not worse, food response than a superdwarf retic. They're just such a tiny snake, you just don't care. You know what I mean? It's not intimidating. And if they bit you, it feels like the scratchy side of Velcro or something like that. It's not a big deal. That's how my kids describe it. So his point was this. When you're getting a beginner snake, a baby superdwarf is a perfect first snake. And then they're so slow growing that say they're, by the time they're like striker size at 3 years old or phase size at 6 years old, you're not a beginner anymore. You have 3 years of not just snake keeping, but interactions with that exact snake. So those of you guys that have a big dog at home, think about this. When you meet someone else's big dog, if it starts acting intense, say, like I used to have a Rottweiler and I'd play with a rope toy, and the sounds that came out of that thing, you would think she was like murdering a caribou. You know what I mean? As she's playing with this rope toy, super intimidating, except that she was my baby. I'd known her forever. Yeah. It was completely unintimidating to me. I knew exactly when she was being serious and not, because this is my dog. If that was someone else's dog, you wouldn't know and you'd be pretty nervous. So his point was like, yes, they are the best pet reptile. And then there's a kind of a bonus feature here. And this one I thought was also really smart. So the first thing is, yeah, the superdwarf babies, I mean, you can set this up. We actually have a whole video about how to set them up in like a 20-gallon long using only things that we bought at a big box store, right? You order a cage from on chewy.com or something. And you can set them up in a 20-gallon and that'll be good with that for them for like the first year. After a year's worth of research and keeping, you can make decisions like, do I need to go with a custom cage? What type do I want? All those kinds of things. But again, you'll be much more experienced by the time you have to make that decision. So baby superdwarf, perfect pet snake. This is what Clint was saying. And then the adult, you're no longer a beginner by the time you raise one up to be 6, 7, however big it's going to get, feet long. And the bonus is this. He said with a lot of first pet snakes, like best beginner snakes, they end up being species that are kind of uninteresting to keep for intermediate to advanced keepers. So hopefully this doesn't happen, but there is a trend where, like, let's say you get a corn snake for your first snake, you keep it for a couple of years, you gain a little confidence in your reptile keeping abilities, and then you want something else. You know, one of the #1 things that we hear, by the way, Jeremy, with people buying superdwarfs is they're like, well, I had a ball python for a long time. I want something that's a little bit bigger, right? And then you can actually see a little of their inexperience showing when they're like, you know, like maybe a 6-foot retic or something. And I'm thinking, a 6-foot retic, I mean, that's Striker there. He's tiny. He's very much, he's smaller than our like adult female ball pythons that we use for birthday parties. He's longer, yeah, but he's long and skinny, right? Like no one would say a ball python and a corn snake are the same size. But if you're looking at them lengthwise, they're pretty close to the same size. In fact, a corn snake might be bigger if you measure them that way. So anyway, yeah, the bonus thing with the super dwarves is your ability to like dive deep into the keeping aspect of them grows with your experience level. So by the time you're ready and experienced enough to have a 6, 7, 8 foot adult super dwarf, as you know, like they're work hard, play hard. That's what I mean when I say intense. So as intense as they are, you're wanting that level of interaction, that level of the snake studying you, finding out with you. You want to learn things like training a snake, or, you know, so people are like, I love my ball python. I used to be afraid of snakes. Now I have a ball python. He sits on my lap all day long while I read books, you know, and then other people kind of half lovingly call them pet rocks because they don't do much. You know, that's the reputation for them. And people are like, I want something a little more engaging later on. And so if you can start with something like a little baby like this guy, and then as it grows and your keeping ability grows, the snake slowly grows with it. It's very unlikely that if you do get a good bloodline of superdwarf, it's going to outgrow your keeping ability because they're so slow growing. But that kind of brings it back to Clint being nice. And, you know, what was it? What did he say? He said, I can't see the clips when you play them. He said, get it from someone like Reach Out Reptiles or a very reputable breeder of superdwarfs. Right? Someone who really knows what they're talking about with superdwarfs. And if you do, then you're going to get this really slow growing snake that won't outpace you. And I'll tell you, we've been keeping superdwarfs and breeding them in large numbers for many years and still constantly learning awesome things about them all the time. You know, and I don't know that my level of advancement in understanding the animals will ever catch up. Well, I mean, I know that it won't. It will never catch up to the level of information we'll be able to learn about them. We're just scratching the surface on some of how some of these genetic combinations work. We really don't know, like, in the genetic code what it is that's keeping them small. I mean, we know it's insular dwarfism, but it's not like we've isolated it, like this is what makes an albino turn off this switch. We don't know what that is in there. We know how to reproduce it, but we don't know why that works. We don't know a lot about their natural behaviors. Here's another little baby. I have a wild type and a platinum.
Oh, wow.
Can we bring these over a little closer so you guys can see? Yeah. You're going to have to guide me so I can see myself. And then when I'm over here, you can't hear me. Hold on. All right. You see those there?
Little closer to the camera, please.
So this is like a wild type or exactly as they exist in nature. One. Platinum.
That way. Yep.
Platinum albino. They're so stinking cute. And oh my goodness, they feel like silk as babies. Here, Jeremy, I'm going to let you pet.
Oh, okay.
Tell me that doesn't feel like silk. This is like, these guys are like right after their first egg skin. Aren't they smooth?
Yeah, definitely.
So
very
cool.
soft.
Look how cute and curious these are, by the way. These aren't trained or anything at all. They're like a couple weeks. And they're like, I don't know, they're just born curious and confident, all that kind of stuff. Hey.
So,
yeah, that's why they did. Yeah, do they make good pets at all? Absolutely they do. Most people that have had them enjoy them very much. Are they like the best first pet snake? That's the controversy. And honestly, that's a really big question.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could like fully answer that perfectly well given the thousands of species that are out there. But he does have 2 snakes on the list. They both have a lot of pros, and they're both totally different. So an African house snake is very, very different from a superdwarf reticulated python. So I think it's like up to you to judge for yourself what kind of person you are and what type of keeping experience you want. And then, for example, if you're the type that wants a tiny little mini display, think of like a beta enclosure on your desk, but with a snake in it, then what you want is an African house snake. If you're the type of person that wants a snake, you're going to have it out all the time. You're always going to be doing things with it, showing it. Oh, here, is that a little better? Showing it to your friends. You know, you're going to be constantly interacting with the little one, and you want a snake that not only tolerates, but actually begs for interaction in return sometimes. You want a superdwarf, you know? So that's what I think. Do you have any questions?
We're wrapping up here. I would we could address the one that said if you're not a beginner, but that as a keeper, whenever these snakes get bigger, it's going to be a bigger snake that could potentially do damage to you. I will say first off that is, I don't know if that's an accurate assumption of when like a retic becomes an adult, because I've worked here for 2 years and I've handled some, and I've, you know, no damage has ever happened to me. Damage has happened to some of the staff, but I don't think that's a very accurate one in terms of an adult python. Like, saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is their personality, so this is what they look like when they're bigger, and this is how they act. Are some of them capable of damage?
Sure.
Yeah, damage, like, I mean, I've been bitten many thousands of times by snakes over the years. I have a scar that's about a ½ inch long to show for it. There's certainly some very unlucky people that have gotten worse than that, but it's like way super far less damage than, for example, a cat could cause to you. So to say they're damage-free, no. But I mean, hognose snakes are kept commonly. They're mildly venomous. You could have allergic reaction. It's a lot of things that could happen or go wrong or whatever. But, you know, relatively speaking, if you're talking about snakes like I just had out, the adults of these guys, you know, like their bites, their teeth, one thing people have to realize is like a snake bite is usually very scary. But what you're talking about, these snakes, their teeth aren't made to do damage. Like a dog kills with its teeth. These don't kill with their teeth. They stick to things. They penetrate through fur and feathers. So they have really tiny, needly teeth. A snake as big as that full-grown adult female has teeth that are like 1/8 to 1/4 inch long total. That's like out of their jaws and gums and into you, and the size of a needle tip. So there's just not a lot of like actual physical damage that can happen from that. So if you're talking about a large adult reticulated python, like with more size comes damage, absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean they're physically capable of less damage than a dog or a cat, even a small dog.
Definitely. Excellent. Well, we are running a little late, as we always are, to our Patreon after party. You guys haven't heard.
Quentin, you know you love the stash.
Dude,
be serious.
We know they love the stash.
I gotta grow out. You guys, what do you guys think? Let me know real quick before Jeremy turns the stream off. Should I do like handlebars for Retic Fest? Just keep it going. I was actually gonna shave it when I got back from Hawaii, but Clint, convincer of all people, obviously he's a wizard with words, convinced my wife that I should keep it until Retic Fest. I don't even know if that's what I wanted. What do you guys think? Are you being entertained by the ridiculous giant red mustache on my face? Should I handlebar that bad boy?
No, here's what I like, the idea that we had on that after party when you were in Hawaii, where you take it and you make the Reach Our Reptiles logo.
Reach Our Reptiles logo mustache.
Yes.
I don't know if that's
or Retic Fest, guys. We can make it happen if we badger him enough.
If you've got a crazy long stash,
we can do it.
Do it up like the Retic logo, Retic Fest or Reach Our Reptiles logo, so I can see it.
Yes, make it happen. Something, please.
Jay says shave it off. You're just trying to earn brownie points from Ashley. Come on. Look at these babies. These are so cute. All right, if you're on Patreon, we will catch you over there in the after party. If you're not, and you're just here because you want a baby snake, you saw the parents, you saw the babies of these. There's 4 available from this clutch. These are the only 2 males, so hit us up.